Okay, we'll do very quick prayers as we start our sessions with prayers all the time. Tasmai Shri Namo Vishnu Padavane Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prajapati Nirvishesha Sunyavati Ashyanta Keshatari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Vatsali Gauravinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna. So as I said, it is going to be an interactive session and let's participate as much as possible, right? So Mataji already asked, why are we celebrating and what are we celebrating today? Who is going to answer that question? Janmastami. What is Janmastami? Right. So, kids, this is a question for you. How many of you know, apart from Bhuloka, how many lokas are there?
3 lokas.
3 lokas. Okay, more answers? Krishna was born. Do we know there are 14 lokas in our Brahmanda, right? There are 14 lokas, right? Does anybody know where else Krishnastami is celebrated? In any other loka? Is Krishnastami celebrated in any other loka? Only in Bhuloka. Why? Because Lord has come only in Bhuloka. Right? The other lokas, there is no need for celebration of Janmashtami because Krishna is always there in his loka. In his loka, they don't celebrate Krishnashtami. Right? Only in Bhuloka we celebrate Krishnashtami. So that's a fortunate thing that only we have. Right? Right. Now I'm going to ask you more questions. Can some of you tell me like 5 Krishna devotees? Who can tell me 5 Krishna devotees? Prahlad, Dhruva. In the adults also can answer this. 5 Krishna devotees names. Mirabai. All these people are the Krishna's devotees, right? Tukaram, Sudama. Now 5 Vishnu devotees. Lot of Vishnu devotees, right? Prahlad, Andal. Now I'm going to ask you 5 Shiva devotees. Mataji there? Ravanasura. Okay. Who else? Bhakta Kannappa. Okay. Brahma devotees. Devotees of Brahma. Who worshipped Brahma? Who worshipped Brahma? Can anybody say? Ravanasura worshipped Shiva more. Hiranyakashipu worshipped Brahma. Right? Hiranyakashipu actually worshipped Brahma. All these people, they get their boons from Brahma or Shiva. And what do they do with those boons? They go and fight with Vishnu. No, something very nice thing you should observe from these things. You never see in your Puranas a Vishnu devotee or Krishna devotee fighting with anybody else. Can you name one Rakshasa who is also Vishnu devotee or Krishna devotee? The only answer would be Prahlad, because because they were born in the dynasty, but they never had that Rakshasa Tattva. You get the point? See, a devotee of any other demigod or devata might sometimes fight with Vishnu or Krishna, but you never see a Krishna devotee or Vishnu devotee fighting with anything else. They fight with only one thing. What do they fight with? The Krishna devotee or Vishnu devotee fight with only one thing, but other devotees, I'm not saying all Shiva devotees are like that. So don't get me wrong. I'm going to make a point here, because even Rama worshipped Shiva. Before going to Lanka, even Rama worshipped Shiva. The point here is the Vishnu devotees or Krishna devotees are generally, they're fighting with only one thing. What is that one thing? Sorry? Adharma. Okay, I'll take that answer with 20%. More than that, I'm looking. They're fighting with Brahma devotees and Shiva devotees. No, ma, that's not what I'm looking for. Okay? See, they only fight for mukti. Standing for dharma is part of it. Standing for dharma is part of it. But what the point I'm trying to make here is, once you're a Vishnu devotee, the only thing they have looking forward is to get out of Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi cycle. That is mukti. Right? You get the point? But when you try to worship other demigods like Shiva or Vishnu, Brahma, and they get all the boons. You don't see any Vishnu devotee asking for any boon. You don't see them asking for, give me a life that will make me live forever. But what happens here is, the two things you have to observe here very carefully. When you are worshipping Shiva, I'm not saying again every worshipper of Shiva is like that, but you see these examples in Purana, like Ravana, or a lot of these people, lot of these Rakshasas, what happens is they get a boon. With the boon, they think they're more powerful, and they think they are the most powerful. And with the thought process of being the most powerful, they look at the most powerful man and they think he is their competitor. That's exactly the reason why most of these people, when they get a boon, so the point here is not whom you worship, what happens because you're getting boons. That's the point. Once you're getting boons, this is what is happening. When you try to get something, when you pray for a result, when you get the result makes you feel you're more comfortable in this world. That's the biggest problem of life. You're getting my point? So you can ask me, why do Vishnu devotees or Krishna devotees don't feel the same? The part of praying Krishna or Mahavishnu is that he takes that feeling away. If you look at any of the Vishnu devotees or Krishna devotees, they're all service people. They serve the Lord. They are not praying the Lord for a result-oriented or a boon that will make them super powerful people. Right? You get the point? So the reason why Vaishnavism is so much more important. Or what does it do? It induces within you that service attitude, the serving the Lord for the pleasure of Lord versus for the pleasure of self. That aspect of prayer is taken away when you're actually serving Krishna or Mahavishnu. You get the point, Mataji and Prabhuji? So that's the point I'm trying to make. We are not here to debate Saivism or Vaishnavism, but the difference in the way when you worship, that's the demarcation that happens as a result of that. I can look at any book, any Puranam or any of these books. This is exactly what will be happening, right? So now tell me, why do we celebrate Krishnashtami? I'll come back to that question again. We're only talking about Krishnashtami. What is Janmastami? What is Krishna Katha means? And not even Krishna Katha. What it means is what our discussion is on. Krishnashtami, right? So we celebrate kids' birthdays. We celebrate August 15th. we celebrate one more thing. Why do we celebrate August 15th? So that puts you in that patriotic consciousness, right? That puts you into a patriotic consciousness. The same way, for the same reason, you should celebrate Janmastami. It cannot be just another festival. It's not about celebrating another festival, but a day for us to sit back. And on August 15th, what are we doing? We are just sitting back and thinking of all the great leaders that have made sacrifice for this land, and then we are inducing some element of patriotism in us. The same thing should happen when you celebrate Ramnavami, Krishnastami. Right? This is the day to sit back and think, why are we born? Why is the Lord making us to live in this world? Why do we have to celebrate that? Right? Now who wants to answer why we have to celebrate Janmastami? It's Krishna's birthday, but thank you, Nana. But I'm looking for a bigger answer. See, it's God's birthday. Fine. So what do we have to do on God's birthday? We have to do whatever. We have to perform puja, right? Whatever God likes, we should do. I like that answer very much. We should do whatever God likes. Now we have to find out what God likes. What God likes from us. What is that God wants from us? Sorry? God likes sweets. Very nice. More than sweets, God likes sweet people. Right? Little kids, they're all sweet. That's why God likes them. Only when we become adults, we try to become less sweet. Because otherwise, we have to take insulin and all that. Anyway, right. So, this is what our Sanatana Dharma is. What is our Sanatana Dharma in celebrating a God's festival? Right? I'll come back to this answer again. I'll come back to this question. Let's think at it very logically. You have, we all go through life. You get to a new relation, marriage, children, and all that, right? In a day, you spend like 1 hour with your child, and the child goes to school, comes back, but that does not mean for the rest 23 hours he is not your child, right? Your relationship with the child is there for 24 hours. Just to reiterate and to keep that relationship in a proper path, you spend that half an hour, 40 minutes with your child. The same way we should do daily, that 30 minutes, half an hour spending with God. That's exactly what God wants us to do. The reason for performing puja is for the rest 23 hours, that consciousness has to stay. If not, you are calling your husband for 1 hour and the rest of time is yours. That's not how it works, right? Especially if you say the other way, if you call your wife only for half an hour, then the rest is the neighbors will hear the problem. That's a different story, right? But exactly the same thing is what God is expecting from us. You do your puja for half an hour, 1 hour, the Krishna Katha or Sankirtana or chanting is only for that reason. For the rest 23 hours, you have to live in that consciousness. If you are not living in that consciousness, you are not doing your dharma. See, we do the same 4 things like every other living being does, right? Every other living being does the same thing as giving birth to the children, trying to get food for the children on the table, and they're tired, they sleep, and then what else they do? They take care of the children, they protect their children. If we are doing the same 4 things year by year, day by day, then how else are we different from rest of living creatures? Just for that reason, we should look at Krishna Katha. Now, I'm going to tell about one shloka from Bhagavad Gita. Here, we know that Krishna told Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, or Krishna put through this knowledge to Arjuna a consciousness of dharma that with which he has to fight the rest of war. In this shloka, Krishna is saying, Janma karme che divyam evam yo veti tatvatah taktva deham punarjanma Naiti mameti so Arjuna. One, he knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. What is that we need to know on Krishnashtami is his transcendental nature of his appearance. Janmashtami is nothing but his appearance, day of his appearance. We should not say, we cannot say Krishna is born. Krishna appeared at the end of his tenure of his responsibility of task, his comfort. He's just left the Bhuloka. It does not mean he's gone. He just left Bhuloka as a human form. But here Krishna is saying, Janma karmecha divyam. Once who understands his Janma and his activities, the divyam means the transcendental, the spiritual, adhyatmika activities of Lord Krishna. Evam ye veti tattvataha, once who understands that tattva, the tattva of Lord Krishna's appearance and his activities, tattva deham punarjanma, there is no need to take birth again. This is what we should all be fighting for. This is all we all should be aiming for, right? If not, Naiti Mameti so Arjuna, someone like that has no appeal, what do you call it? No, he will permanently reach my abode. He will permanently stay in my place. Here you don't have to celebrate Krishnashtami because Krishna is there all the time. Right? Right? So you get the point, Prabhuji and Matajis. We use the word Prabhuji and Mataji in our conversation because that's the respect we give. Prabhu means we are servants of you. Mataji means we respect you as a mother. So we have to do our responsibility as a son in preaching you what is needed for our lives. That's the reason why we call this Prabhujis and Matajis. So everybody, so this is the day you have to sit back for a minute and think what exactly are we doing? Are we doing what God has intended us to do? Are we doing what God likes us to do? You get the point, Prabhujis and Matajis? Any questions here? This is not about making everybody a sannyas. This is not, see, a lot of people have this misconception. God consciousness means something at end of life activity. This is not end of life activity. This is the activity the life is meant for. Period. There's no more discussion of that. This is the activity the life is meant for. Now, if you are not able to do that, come to me. I'll help you how to do that. This is, see, yeah, how many of you are coming to first time to Krishna Janmastami program in Green Grace? This is the first Janmastami program. So for a couple of years, we have been having this Janmastami program. Last year we had. Prior to that, because of COVID, we did it online. But the best part is, we are doing Ram Navami, we are doing Ganesh Chaturthi, we are doing Durgashtami. Now, cultural committee has put this as part of our calendar, which is we should be very grateful to them. Basically, not many communities in Gachibowli are having this opportunity to even listen to her, talk to her, think about it. Basically, right? Here we're all. I'm representing here ISKCON, and I'm follower of ISKCON. I proudly say that a session like this, a lecture like this, in this very hall, opened my eyes. That cracked the nut in me, saying you're going nuts if you're not doing this. That's the reason why I like this place very much, and I'm trying to put forward the same thing. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Subbarao. I live in A Block 1310, and my wife Nirupama, and there are two my children. So we're all part of Green Grace, and we have our jobs, we have our lives. It's not like that we have disrespected any of the things that we have to do as parents, or any of the things that we have to do as our social responsibility, or our job, or what do you call it, job responsibilities. My wife, she's a teacher. She holds PhD from a very renowned university in America, and she used to work for a Nobel laureate in America, basically. And now here she works as a teacher. And I work for a company, small company, but I will tell you, I'm not trying to boast ourselves, but our organization never closed during COVID period because we were responsible of designing the entire Pfizer vaccine missions in Hyderabad. We designed those missions. If you don't know that fact, those missions were designed in Hyderabad by our office. The Pfizer COVID vaccine missions in America, whatever Joe Biden and other people have just posed in front of the missions were actually designed in a small office in Hyderabad. The point I'm trying to make is this is not difficult task. Being God conscious is not difficult task. You should not postpone this thing because we don't know if there is another Janmastami. We have seen in the last 1 year, Janmastami to Janmastami, how many people have lost their lives within Greenwich. We have lost people, right? Agree? Very recent, I'm going to tell this story again. I told to some of our friends. One of my friends, best friend's father, he's 92 years old. To the time I knew him for last 40 plus years, and this elderly man, he lived a very poised life. He lived a very poised life. From his 20 years onwards, he's a farmer. From his 20 years onwards, he left non-veg, spent his time service. He lost civil services in the final entry. Otherwise, he would have been an IAS officer, but he settled down as a farmer. At the age of 92, he and his son were discussing. Son is a cardiosurgeon, a big cardiosurgeon. And so they were discussing. And he was saying, the father was saying, son, I'm not ready to die. Can you do something? This man, after living such pious life at the age of 92, he was saying, I know living any further is not going to be easy because I'm already bedridden. Living any further will only be more discomfortable. But I'm not ready to die. As a doctor, what can you do for me? If our education, if our life cannot make us prepare to that point, what else is it useful for? Honestly, we should question ourselves. The entire life is just preparation for the final exam. And we know we have to take that exam. Nobody can get away from that exam. Ravana tried. So many people tried, but they all failed. Hiranyakashipu tried, right? And Bhaktatukaram never tried. You see the point? So you can try, but we know it doesn't work. The alternative is follow the leaders of devotional service. That will work. And there's nothing to lose there. Right? There's nothing to lose there. Give that little time, half an hour, 1 hour in a day. Just what that half an hour, 1 hour does? It re-establishes your connection with God. It's like the radio frequency. You just keep chanting. I don't know, some of you must be seeing me. I just sit in the amphitheater and do chanting. Basically, most of the time, my chanting might not be of very high quality, but at some point, my goal is to attain. My goal is to attain that, basically. That half an hour should re-establish your connection with the God for the rest of your, till the next time you're ready to do your consciousness, do your chanting. Right? Krishna. So here the God is saying, someone who understands my transcendental nature does not have to take birth again. So we are going to read very few texts from Bhagavatam book. So from this book, few texts I'm going to read, and we'll see the story of Lord Krishna's birth. We are not going to read shlokas in the interest of time. But if anybody wants to read, we have the books. We have a set in our library. I don't know how many of you know even that. So we can always read these books. So this is, how many of you know what Bhagavatam book is? You know, this is Bhagavatam book. You know what Bhagavatam means? Can somebody in the audience explain the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam? Childhood of Krishna, okay. Oh, really? Very nice. Okay, thank you, Mataji. Anybody else who wants to give it try between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam? If not, I think we should spend time understanding that. Past tense of the Lord. Wonderful, Nana. Thank you so much. So this is the difference, right? Bhagavad Gita in Mahabharata, Lord Krishna answered to Arjuna's questions. As part of that answering, he said the knowledge that guides Arjuna to do his duty. let's not use the word war, because when we use the word war, we think I'm not doing war and it's not my responsibility to read Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna's responsibility is war, but our responsibility is to take care of family, bring up children, and all these things. Our life is no different from the war Arjuna is facing. We need that knowledge. As much as Arjuna needed it in the middle of Kurukshetra. We need that because on daily basis we are in Kurukshetra. Honestly, all around us are so many Kauravas. No, all inside us there are so many Kauravas. Leave alone around us. For that reason, we need the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Now, the difference between Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita was directly told by Krishna. Bhagavad Gita establishes the position of Lord Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, I am the supreme personality of the Godhead. I am the supreme person. There is nothing beyond me. There is nothing beyond me. I am the know all and end all of what supreme power means. That's all. And that is where Bhagavatam starts. Krishna position is established, and then Bhagavatam tells us how devotees have understood that and have crossed that version of, or have crossed that, or have bypassed that cycle of birth and death. For that reason, Bhagavatam is needed. Bhagavad Gita has, what happened? Must sound. Oh, sorry. Bhagavad Gita has 700 shlokas. Bhagavatam has 18,000 shlokas. Bhagavad Gita comes in one bound. Bhagavatam comes in 18 bounds. So, girl was saying the father has 3 books, but actually it is 18 books, 18 of such books. Right? And in our lifetime, if we read these two, we are done. I'm telling you, we are done. This is not an ordinary book. This is not an ordinary knowledge. This is not an ordinary story book. Amala Purana. It's called Amala Purana. The best of the Puranas is Bhagavatam. Bhagavata Purana. If you want to read all Puranas, the total will be close to like 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs slokas. We're not even worrying about that. Just Bhagavatam if you read. And it is not impossible. So don't think it's impossible. So during COVID time, we have started online. Sorry, I can't hear you.
How was Krishna able to tell all the 700 slokas just before the war to Arjuna?
Very good, very wonderful question. In the same way, how we are able to write 3-hour exam at the end of the year. So no, just not Krishna. There are a lot of kids today who can tell all 700 slokas, right? But we are repeating what Krishna said. But Krishna told all that on his own. How was Krishna able to tell? Because he is the most powerful and most knowledgeable person that anybody ever can imagine. Right? Krishna can do anything. We should never limit the God's capacity. So a lot of people say God is Nirakara. The end of God, understanding God is Nirakara. But if you understand, if you say God is Nirakari, you're actually limiting his potential. He can be anything. He can be a form or formless. He can do whatever he wants. Right? If you start understanding God with the perception that he is the most powerful person, only then we can appreciate. No, only then we can surrender. Without surrender, there is no progress. Without surrender, there is no spiritual progress. Right? Anyway, we're just discussing between Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita story difference. In Bhagavatam, so it has 18,000 shlokas, and we read 18 books. We have a small club that we do every Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7:30 to 9:30. We read these books online in Telugu. So we started like about 80 weeks. 80 weeks ago, 1.5 years ago. Today we completed about 9 books. So we got another 1.5 years to go with the pace if we do. And when we want to complete it at some point. But again, it's not just reading that helps. At the end of it, it has to bring in a transformation. Right? Whatever it takes to get you to or bring in the transformation, you should do. Why? Why? Only for one reason. It takes you out of Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. These are common to every living entity in the world. The goal is because anybody living in Bharatavash can easily understand that I am not body, I am the soul. After birth, after death, there is birth. These are very simple topics to understand, but very difficult topics to digest. Most of the time, we'll be under the impression, right? I'll die and I'll born again. If not green grass, avatar, if not avatar, trend set. If not Hyderabad, it's Warangal. If not Warangal, it's Vijayawada. That's the feeling we have, but that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Human life is precious because it's one out of 84 lakh types of species that make up this Brahmandam, that make up this planetary system. And one of them is human life. That human life only has that opportunity of knowing this. The human life only has the opportunity of thinking, a rational thinking on this and making an explicit effort in this direction. If not, there is very good chance that you can end up in one of those 84 lakh species. It's just as simple as that. Just to get out of that. That's what God is expecting us to do. Please get out of this cycle of birth and death, because this is driven by the 3 modes of material nature. So we have to get out of this, means this is what you should do. So in the interest of time, I don't think we are going to go through the entire Krishna Katha, but the idea is to get the Krishna consciousness basically. So here, Krishna again says in 7.19 shloka, Bahunam Janmanamante Bahunam Janmavanante Jnanavam Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samhatma Sudurlabha. What does it mean? After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is, such a great soul is very rare. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, very, very rare. Here, what is saying? Who can understand my consciousness, who understands my nature, who understands my activities, my life, can come to my world. But again, in 7.19, God is saying, but such a person is very rare. Why is he very rare? Why is he very rare? Why is he very, very rare? Because among Siddhana kids should sit down. Because it's very easy to understand philosophy. It's also easy to, with some effort, to understand this state, what God is talking about. Most difficult part is to remain in that state. At the point, until we remain in that state, we have no escape. You want to get that escape velocity route to GR? This is the only path forward. There's no other go, basically. What is that you have to do? You have to do whatever it takes. That keeps your consciousness in complete God consciousness and still do your activity. Right, Prabhu Mataji? Is it very confusing or is it very tangential? Right? I think with that, we are going to stop the session. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to answer if you have any questions. Hare Krishna. Prabhu? That's it. Hare Krishna, anybody have any questions? Is this even making sense? Is this discussion even making sense, or is it all tangential? No?
Only Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the wonderful lecture, Prabhu. So, for my benefit and for the audience benefit, can you explain what is the difference between birthday and appearance day? Why do we call Krishna's appearance day instead of birthday?
Hare Krishna. So to some extent, we already talked about it. For God does not have to be born as a human being. See, if you look at that's the what we wanted to read few lines from Bhagavatam on how God has appeared. So you know who's Krishna's parents are, who's born to Devaki and Vasudeva, and he did not come in like our normal human beings. He just appeared there in as Mahavishnu Rupa. He comes with four hands, in the four hands form, and then he tells them, I have come in Vishnu Rupa to just to make you believe that I am the supreme personality of God that have come here. There is no other reason for me to come, but I have come as your son today, and I will be serving as your son. And Krishna says to them, Krishna says to Devaki and Vasudeva how they have worshipped him. They have done some tapasya asking for God, and when God appears, they want to ask him for a child. They want to ask him for a child. And God appears, they ask him, we want a son exactly like you. God says yes, and he thinks for a minute, that has to be exactly like me, that has to be only me. That has to be only me. There's nothing else exactly like me. And he comes in as their son in 3 lifetimes, and the 3rd lifetime is Krishna. And he does not have a normal life, a normal birth like us. If you read Bhagavatam, it explains as he was born, Vasudeva actually describes him and praises him. He comes with all Gada Chakram and everything. He's born with clothes, he's born with the ornaments and everything. He said, like normally, when people are born, we have to buy them toys, but God has come with his own toys on it. Then Vasudeva says, I want. Devaki says, now I'm not even able to treat you as a son. I'm not getting the feeling of a mother. You have just come as a God. Then he turns into a small Krishna. Then Devaki still says, you're just smiling. Kids are supposed to cry. Then Krishna starts crying, and then Devaki hugs him and says, now I feel comfortable as a mother. Until then, see, to bring out that motherhood also, God does anything. So there's nice pastimes about it. See, God is also, there is a supreme personality of Godhead. Sometimes you see Narendra Modi doing some small things, right? He goes and plays with kids. I don't know if you have seen that interview. Recently, when one little girl came to parliament, one of the MP's daughter, and Narendra Modi asked her, do you know me? And she said, yeah, you work for the parliament channel. So it's like that. You see what I'm saying? So even God wants to play. He wants to do little things. He wants to make others see how they play. One day, when I was a little kid like this, I asked my teacher. I'm telling you, this is true story actually. I asked my teacher, like I'm in 6th grade or 7th grade, why should Krishna behave like a thief? And why should everybody run around him? Then my teacher said, I don't know, it's a true answer or not. Just satisfy me, but I am satisfied with that answer. He said, when he's running, he makes all of us run behind him. It only tells us we have to walk in his footprints. That's all. Just to make all of us walk in his footprints, he makes all of us run behind him. That's all we have to take out of that story. That was a fantastic answer from I don't know if teachers are still giving such answers today. But bottom line is we have to inculcate that devotional attitude towards God. Without which there is really not no way out for us. Right? I don't know if I'm answering Prabhuji's answer, but yeah. Any other questions? philosophy questions or Krishna Katha questions. So bottom line, Krishna Katha means it's Krishna consciousness. If the Katha cannot change and transform you to a God consciousness, that Katha is not really of big importance. Basically, Krishna Katha has to give out this Divya Leela of Krishna. From little child, he killed all the Rakshasas. It's like this. Who used to send these Rakshasas? His mama Kamsa used to send it. Right? We as little kids, we all have mamas who gives us toys, and if you don't like the toy, we just throw it up. That's what Krishna was doing. Give me more toys, and he's killing all those toys, and breaking all those toys, basically. Right? I mean, and all of them, everybody that Krishna touched that king, all of them got bhakti one way or other, basically. So, bottom line is, we have to get into that bhakti mark. Hare Krishna. With that, I'm going to close the session. If there are any questions, we can spend another 2-3 minutes. Otherwise, we close the session. Before I close, I'm going to tell you one more thing. So the way we do is, we do Bhagavad Gita classes as part of ISKCON activity, and then we do Bhagavatam, then we do next book. Like these are 3-4 books we wanted to do. So a year ago, 6 months ago, we have started this. Before reading Bhagavad Gita, we do 12 classes, 12 sessions called Science of Self-Realization. What does it do? It actually puts your mind into the right state of reading Bhagavad Gita, just to get your mind to the right point of reading Bhagavad Gita. About 2 weeks, about 4 or 5 months back, we have started these sessions in Hanuman Temple in Nasingi. I have a couple of devotees who attend those sessions have come here, Srinivas Garu and Shyam Garu. So we have just completed those sessions and we are starting Bhagavad Gita for them. So my dream is to start a session at Green Grace at some point. If I have sufficient interest here, I want to start this session in Green Grace. Probably if everything permits, I want to start this session by the time we start celebrating Ganesh Chaturthi. So if anybody is interested, I want to know how many of you would be interested. Based on that, it will be the Telugu session or the English session I want to start. For now, we are doing Telugu session. We have completed those 12 SSR sessions, and we are starting Bhagavad Gita from 28th onwards in Nasingi Temple, in Hanuman Temple in Nasingi. They happen at 7:30 on Sunday morning. Every Sunday morning, if you see me running, I'll be running to that point, and at 10:30 I come back, and from 11 I do in other session online till 1:30. So that's my Sunday timing. But English people are interested. I want to do a wonderful session here also and see that we're all benefited in this journey, because it's not for you. Me doing sessions actually helps me realize a lot of things. That's my goal too. Thank you. Hare Krishna. You have a question? No, you have a question? Okay.
Is Krishna all gods combined?
Is Krishna all gods combined? He is the boss of all gods. He is the big boss of all gods. Is Modi combined all ministries? No, right? Modi has home minister, cabinet minister, that minister, this minister. There is a railway minister, transport minister. Krishna has the Varunadeva, Vaideva, Devendra, Brahmadeva, Kubera, Vinayaka, and all this is cabinet ministry to make sure as humans we are happy. For not just this human, not just here, but for the entire Brahman. He is the big boss of all these ministers.
Any questions? So let's all sincerely thank Subara Prabhu. Please give a big hand. Thank you. Goodbye, Nirpuma Garu, who is always there to support him. And Subara Garu is a country head of a company. Country head of a company, and yet he is very humble and always in the service of the Krishna. And his good wife Nirpuma Garu is a PhD from one of the great universities in the US, and they always serve in whatever way possible to give the message of the Lord to everybody like us. So thank you, Subharu, from the core of our heart. Because today is Janmastami, it's very, very important. We might do so many cultural programs and all kinds of things. At the end of the day, the most important thing is to understand about the Lord and establish our connect. And Vaishno has asked a beautiful question at the end. I think that is the